Welcome to the Elk Season Podcast, Season 3, Episode 1. We are the Chambers Brothers. My name is Harold.
I'm David.
And tonight on the Elk Season Podcast,
We got elk season goals, right? So new year, new opportunities. We're going to talk about, I don't know, can you guess? Anybody out there? You want to guess? Put it in the comments. Pause right now. Put in the comments. What do you think we're going to talk about? Wolves. Oh, you didn't pause, did you? Also, Harold goes trapping. All that and more tonight.
So I really want to start talking about wolves. I brought a bunch of wolf data, just for reference. Like, one wolf kills roughly 20 elk a year.
Yeah,
right, and we've talked about that
Yes.
before. And there were roughly last time I talked about a census of wolves in Idaho. There were about 1,500.
Yeah.
Now that's come down to 1,377 or something like that. So it's come down a certain percentage, and there's some efforts to lower the wolf population by Fish and Game in some very specific areas of Idaho, so they can bring the elk population back up.
Okay.
And so I went to my education course, the Trapper Education course.
Yeah.
And I absolutely loved it. It was so neat because there's so many different things you can trap for, and so many things that need to be trapped. Skunks and raccoons.
Okay.
And Red Fox had those mittens, those skunk mittens.
Yeah. Red Fox. Who's Red Fox? Or
Sorry,
do you mean Red Green?
Green. Red
Okay,
Green.
that's what I thought you meant.
Red
but
Green,
I just,
yeah.
And I went there in my mind, but then
Red
I was like,
Fox was a different comedian.
Yeah.
He was, yeah. So, yeah, Red Green had the skunk mittens, and I always loved his skunk mittens.
That's funny. I did not pay that much attention, I think. I need to go back and watch some episodes.
So, yeah. So there's different traps for all of them. And where our population is growing, and this is a theme that we talk about on the Elk Season Podcast a lot,
all the time.
And it's where the growing population meets the wilderness,
Right?
Meets wild things,
Yeah.
and there's an interface there that a lot of people aren't familiar with, and sometimes that interface needs to be dealt with. Right? I showed you a picture, a video. I showed you a TikTok from Colorado, Estates Park, Colorado, with 100 elk bedded down in the yards.
It was more than, it was hundreds of elk, it seemed. It just,
yeah.
And I didn't count, but that was my impression. Hundreds, even though it probably wasn't. But
I would say 100, but this is the time of the year when they get into the big groups.
Encroachment, human encroachment into wilderness is something that whether I thought about it more since this podcast started.
Yeah.
But as we're talking, I realized I had curiosities about it back in the early 2000s. I would travel to the Oregon coast with Vesa, and her sister worked for a wasabi farm right there on the coast.
Okay. Yeah.
And they had big fences that would go up around, but the black bears would keep tearing into the fence.
Right.
And keep running into the farm and stuff. And so just kind of an interesting thing, it's you. In fact, some places, and I think it's more obvious in some places than others, but like on the Oregon coast, you wouldn't even know there's this farm unless you drove down this road and then it opens up.
Yeah.
I remember, if you will, when you did insurance, I don't know if you want me to bring this up, but there was that busted marijuana farm place.
That's right.
But you didn't even see anything from that place until you turned the corner around those trees, and then you saw everything. And it was
you wouldn't know.
Well hidden. So
you wouldn't know, and in Oregon, especially along the coast, things are hidden by vegetation.
Yeah, and it's going to grow back anyway. But it's just an interesting curiosity that I have had through the years of like, well, what does it mean to have to manage that interaction?
Yeah. And so trapping is a very there were 50 people in the class, 50 out of 50. I mean, it was maxed out, and there was tons of kids. Yeah, I think I counted 12 to 14 kids, depending on what you call a kid. Right? There were some bigger kids, and there were some smaller kids. But everybody passed their test. There was only 4 women in the class, but the instructor was a woman.
Okay.
And she'd been trapping for a long time, and she traps beaver, and she traps other stuff too, and she
Sure.
had plenty of really cool stories to tell. But it was really good to see that there was an interest in trapping, and such a healthy interest, a robust interest.
It is curious to me. When I was taking my boys through hunter safety just earlier last year,
Yeah.
There was a father-son sitting at the table that I was at, and the father kept talking about the trapping. Like, we're doing this, and then we're going to do trapping, and then they were actually from up in Meridian or something. They were from up in the Boise area, and they traveled all the way to Buell.
Oh wow!
I guess they had some family here.
Yeah,
but it was real interesting to hear about trapping, and that his son, he was just trying to get him through those particular steps to get to that potential.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a lot of places that need that type of management. And that type of management sort of needs to pay for itself, and that's the fur industry. And the season is November through March, right? You want to get those hides when it's cold outside and when they have nice thick fur, and you accumulate buyers just like the trappers did in the olden times.
Yeah.
And I've read a lot of books on trappers, and you know why they call it the Cache Valley over in Preston and Logan? The Cache Valley is where they would cache all their furs.
Oh, okay.
Because the mountains are so incredibly steep. It's always shaded. It's always cold. And they wanted to keep their furs. In all the videos I've been watching, you keep your furs in the freezer.
Gotcha.
You roll them up tight and you keep them in the freezer. But when they would actually want to cache a bunch of furs and bring them to the trading post, which was...
Okay.
What's the fort out in Pocatello? Benton?
Fort Hall.
Fort Hall. So that was an early trading post even before the Mormons came out west.
Okay.
It was a place that they would go from the Cache Valley, where they had all their caches up in trees, and they would bring them down to Fort Hall for the rendezvous and sell their furs. So now there's modern day rendezvous where you say, okay, as soon as you have all your furs, you've kept them in a freezer, then haul them off and show everybody. And they'll make a big offer, and you get this big bundle of money, and then you go to another table at the same rendezvous and go, I need this many traps this year, and I need this many stretchers. And
rotation of money.
It's how the economy works. It's commerce. It's back and forth.
And hope there's something left over to get you some dinner on the way out.
Yeah. So it's really interesting, and there's a lot to learn, and there's a lot of neat stuff, and there's all the kinds of otters. Otters and bobcats. I'm really interested in trapping a bobcat. I think that would just be that would be so neat. And coyotes.
I bought a book for my youngest son for Christmas, Zandrick.
Yeah,
it's called Kavik the Wolf Dog.
Oh, really?
And I read it when I was about his age. And when he opened it up on Christmas, he's like, "Dad, we're reading this in my class." So like he's
Wolf dog.
Kavik the Wolf Dog.
Okay.
And I remember being young and impressionable because this book I think it takes place in Alaska. It's been a while since I read it.
It's like White Fang. White Fang was half wolf, half dog.
Kind of, and it's about a boy who these different fates of fortune or whatever. He ends up with this dog, and he anyway. But there's trapping described in this book.
Okay.
And it's just kind of a fun thing. And I remember, the reason why the dog's found in the first place. So it's a half, So it's this half wolf, half dog or whatever. And there's a plane crash.
Okay.
And the dog's in its kennel cage thing, and it's out in the wilderness. And I remember even just like a cat came up and like clawed at it in the cage. But then a trapper comes along and finds the wreckage and takes this dog that's almost dead because it's been locked up, and then he nurses it back to health, and it ends up with this boy. Anyway, it's kind of a cool story for those.
That is a cool story.
I kind of want to read it again. I'll have to ask Sandra if I can borrow his book.
Okay.
But he said he was already reading it at class, and I was like,
good.
He beat me to it. But anyway, that was one of my first introductions and thoughts about or exposure to what it meant to trap. And I don't know why I brought that up now. All of a sudden, I trailed off, but
you know what? I think about the trappers because I just like the old trapper stories. The guys that came out west, and I like the adventures that they had, and they were some awful adventures.
Well, that's like that book I've talked about here. He was a trapper, the Andrew Garcia, The Tough Trip Through Paradise.
Yeah. I mean, he's a trapper, but you realize that going into these wild places, being some of the first Europeans to go into some of these wild areas, you just know adventure was going to happen. And that's what I liked about it. That's what I like about it, because anytime we go out, you don't have to plan for something to go awry.
No,
something just happens, and it becomes an adventure. And you know, we're a little more prepared than we used to be.
Some of the time,
occasionally. There are moments where we're not.
There are days when there aren't any cherry Pop-Tarts, and I'm livid because somebody thinks they need, you know, some other flavor of Pop-Tart.
I like the cherry. Actually, I bought some cherry. I had some cherry Pop-Tarts.
I was proud of you. Yeah. I was actually proud of you.
And they're good. They're good snacks.
Take a picture if you see me eating a different flavor, because it's a rare thing.
It must be the only flavor Pop-Tart available if I'm eating it.
Because Harold brought it and he knew that I would be forced to eat it, because he goes, I'm not going to buy cherry this time, because David needs to buy his own cherry.
So before we got started, we took the time to go around the room and say what we're interested in trapping, because river trapping is so different than upland trapping.
Okay.
Right. And, you know, coyotes and bobcats and what are they called? The little thing that dropped the mouse on your face.
Oh, weasels.
Weasels. Yeah. So you can get a few bucks for a weasel fur. And there's another kind. There's I don't want to say fisher. Maybe it is a fisher.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of that, but then there's in the water, and I think maybe the fisher was in the water.
Okay.
And fishers and beaver and muskrat and there's some really interesting traps, and you just need kind of different gear to do water trapping. And then there's wolf trapping.
Okay.
So and she went around the room, what are you interested in trapping? And either they were like everything, they were wet, they were coyotes.
Yep.
Or they were wolves. They're like, this is just the step I'm taking to go to wolves. And out of 50 guys in the room, probably 5 of us were like, that's the primary reason I want to trap wolves.
It was a smaller proportion than you'd imagine.
Yeah, it was smaller than I thought, too. I thought everybody would be there. Let's get some wolves. But wolf trapping is an entirely different endeavor than trapping coyotes.
I would imagine.
It is. So I've been watching some videos and what they're doing, because there's so many wolves in Montana and Idaho right now. I haven't seen anything on Wyoming, but I'm sure they're similar, or going to be similar.
Okay.
They're allowing hunting at night. They're allowing night scopes. They're allowing snares. They're allowing unlimited harvest. They're just like, get rid of these. Now, in the book that I've quoted a dozens of times, Wolfer by Carter Niemeyer. In that book, Carter Niemeyer has to go into Alberta to talk these guys out of some live wolves. And their attitude towards it was so infuriating. What are you doing? Why are you bringing wolves back? Do you have any idea what a nuisance these are? It is a constant effort that we have to go out and kill these wolves all the time. That's what they're saying to him.
Yeah.
And he has to go, I'm sorry, but this is what the people want, right?
Yep.
And in Yellowstone, especially, it was especially necessary, because there was no human predation in Yellowstone.
Right.
And they took out the wolves, which was super dumb. Anyway, so we're at that point. We're at that point where they're that much of a nuisance. And just like if too many beaver, you know, they're flooding everything. Hey, we got to fix this. So I've come up with this question. If you could reduce the number of hunters that hunt in your area, or increase the number of elk in your area, which would you do? For me, if it help, I'll answer. I'll say, get rid of the hunters. I want it all to myself.
Okay.
Right? I don't know if you feel that same way. I think most people would answer that way.
I think historically I would answer that way. I don't know. Sometimes it depends on the day you catch me. And I think you know that about me.
Yeah.
Because like today I'm in a mood like, add more elk.
All I saw was hunters. I saw plenty of hunters, but I saw plenty of elk.
But I know early on for me, it's like I would be nowhere near my hunting ground. I would see another car that had a hunting sticker on. I'd be like, you better not be at my trailhead.
Right. It's frustrating.
But So anyway,
so
catch me on that day.
So here we have these opposing ideas. I want my hunting to be better. I either need to increase the amount of elk or decrease the amount of hunters.
Right.
We cannot decrease the amount of other hunters.
Not really.
Right? Unless there's just fewer tags, which means there's fewer tags for us, and they're going to start limiting locals.
Yeah.
Very soon if we don't follow through with some of this. So the only thing you can do to increase the number of elk in your unit is harvest a wolf.
Yeah.
Go in, they kill. One wolf kills roughly 20 elk a year.
Out of curiosity, was this part of your class, or because I swear you've talked about this before, but I didn't know if they talked about that in the class.
No. Okay. They didn't talk about it in the class. What I was trying to say is I'm trying to understand wolves as a nuisance, right? How they described him, how the Canadians described him to Carter Niemeyer, and trying to feel like where is that coming from, and now understanding, oh geez,
you have to. So basically, the population has rebounded to a point where it's gotten to the degree of nuisance,
and especially in certain areas, some areas above others, and there will probably be, I suppose, wolves in the South Hills. Eventually, I don't know how they're. I don't know why they wouldn't get there.
Maybe they're already there.
True. But with the wolf statistics, they keep pretty good wolf statistics, and everybody, most of the hunters I talk to all have a wolf tag. I've been watching a lot of wolf video. I saw Randy Newberg, self-film his first wolf.
Really?
Yes.
I don't think I came across that video.
It is so great. He is so excited. He's just out on private land in Montana shooting some does. He's out looking for some whitetail does. They need help managing this whitetail population. So he's out there and he sees a wolf. He has a tag. He howls. It runs straight for him. And he harvests a wolf, and he's by himself.
Wow.
And he is over the top. He goes, every time we see wolves, and it's rare to see wolves, but every time you see wolves, I always give somebody else the shot. This is the first time I've ever had a shot at a wolf. And he was over the moon. He was so excited. It was so great.
Now I'm going to have to go find that video.
Yeah, it was really cool. And I think it's from last year, and they just never bothered to publish it.
Huh.
Because they're just like, it's self-filmed. There's so many other things that Randy Newberg does. And so to just find this little gem was pretty cool.
Yeah.
There was another awesome video, and I wanted to talk about it. It's the one pictured. I took a picture of a YouTube screen. Yes.
Sorry,
Yeah, can you just, I don't know who the creator is. Something Outdoors, I'm guessing.
Howling Pack, Western Way Productions.
Western Way Productions. This is the coolest thing. These guys had the perfect attitude towards wolves. This was beautiful. This video was incredible. They're out hunting. They see a pack of wolves. They howl to bring one in. They bring one in. It's a nice dark wolf. They kill it. And the rest of the pack goes up on the side of the mountain and starts howling. Like in sadness.
Oh.
And the dudes go, listen, the guy's hunting. The guys who killed the wolf, he goes, I know we're supposed to manage these, but that's the saddest thing ever.
Jeez.
He says that right in that video. But you could hear the mournfulness of those. I'm anthropomorphizing, and so were they.
Right. Well,
but were we?
Is this a good place to piggyback? Because I think I brought a story that I listened to on the radio the other day that I thought, well, that's really interesting. I think could complement that.
Okay.
Anthropomorphizing, so to speak.
Sure.
So the idea that wolves howl at the moon and werewolves and all that stuff. Anyway, there's some in the month of January. The first full moon of the month is called the Wolf Moon.
Really?
Yes, and so the podcast or the radio show I was listening to was talking a little bit about the history of that. So I just got a snippet of it, and there's a lot more details that I'll probably leave out. But
who calls it that?
It's just what it's been called for a long time. And so this was just kind of tracing it back to where did it start. And so like Northern Europe, and I don't remember specific locations they named it in this series, but I can get the gist across, I think, here. And that is, in the winter months, because of the way that wolves are pack animals, God, what was it? Now I can't remember some of the details. Crap. That's because I heard it before last week and we weren't able to do our podcast on the first week. So it's a little sketchy, but it had something to do with wolves in the wintertime, still acting as wolves, but when there's a full moon.
Yeah.
Okay. Some of it's coming back. So wolves' eyesight isn't that great. And so they're not as nocturnal as you'd think is what they were talking about. And I didn't realize that. So if there's a full moon, there's a lot more light and they can go and do their wolf thing, right? So the pack and they can go around. So in a full moon, it's possible that you'll hear more wolves howling because they're actively engaging as a pack because there's more light to work together with.
Yeah.
And so, but the idea is that the piece I'm getting to is, wow.
It's after 6.
It is.
My brain's pretty much done.
But anyway, I guess it's more or less just like if you've ever wondered why the wolf moon is called the wolf moon. Wow. There was more to this that was cooler.
Where the relation was between the moon and the wolves and the werewolves.
And why people talk about how wolves howl. Anyway.
Yeah.
For what it's worth, there's a really cool history of why it's called the wolf moon in January and how it has to do with wolf behavior and pack behavior and light and vision and a whole bunch of details that I can remember some of the details, but not the good stuff. But anyway, that was far less complimentary than I intended it to be, but hopefully nonetheless interesting, if not by watching me babble for 5 minutes.
Well, that's all right. I babble plenty. So I really like seeing that attitude. I know it's a mix. I know there's a lot of people on one side of the fence or the other.
Yeah.
And I really don't like either perspective. I really love the wolf. I know it belongs in the ecosystem in the Intermountain Northwest. Right. But I also know that it needs to be managed. Just like we do beavers. And if you have raccoons getting into your chicken coop or skunks, you need to trap those too.
Yep.
And we just have to manage this population. I just don't want to do it angrily from either side.
Right.
It just seems like too much energy goes into anger.
I'm already tired enough. Life isn't getting any longer. You know what I'm saying? So the wolf data. So I want to talk a little bit more about this wolf data. If there are 1,337 wolves or whatever, the estimate, last year, and a wolf does kill 20 elk a year. Yeah.
That gives the about 26,000 elk a year are killed by wolves in Idaho. Okay. Now last year on the Elk Season Podcast, we talked about how for the first time in 50 years, sportsmen have killed more than 20,000 elk.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
What do you mean? You mean in the 25 years before wolves were brought back, we didn't kill more than 20,000 elk? And in the 25 years since, what's going on?
Yeah.
There's a lot more sportsmen. There's a lot more sportsmen out there. And this is coming to a head in Idaho. That's a lot of elk.
Yeah.
That's a lot of elk to die every year.
2022 number, official numbers according to this Idaho Fishing Game blog or screenshot you have.
Yeah.
20,952, which was up over the previous year by a few hundred.
Yeah. And when we reported it, it was the first time it was over the 20,000 mark. So now it's 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
Now we're going to transition to AI.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about what AI is going to do to hunting because scientists have used AI to have a conversation with a whale.
Yeah. Yep.
A conversation.
All I can think of
sounds.
Did it sound like that scene in Finding Nemo? Oh, you don't speak whale.
Wow, I wish I could speak well. the ability of electronic calls and AI. Imagine you could just hold your phone out in the woods.
Yeah.
And it tells you what that elk is saying.
Yeah.
This plus sportsman, the technology plus sportsman
Yeah.
is what is bringing this number up and bringing it up quickly.
I don't remember what the abbreviation is, but the CES show in Vegas, the Consumer Electronics Show. Hey, I got it. Whee!
Yeah.
I found I deleted it. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But I took a screenshot of a pair of binoculars that will tell you the animal species you're looking at. And it was sort of being catered towards bird watchers.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, that should be. Identifying birds is hard sometimes.
Yeah. So anyway, but I mean,
interesting.
But it's AI assisted is the thing. And
so talk about this AI assistance, and it's amazing to think, oh, this archery elk, we're using technology that has been around for 10,000 years. Man, it is a modern marvel.
It is.
My bow and his fall away rest and lighted nocks and razor blade broadheads and holy crap.
It's a lot. Yeah.
And the information that we have access to on YouTube, all that we've learned about elk hunting, and all that we can ask AI now.
Yeah. We had a conversation early last year.
Yeah.
Not that it told us much, but it was still fun to kind of just start that process.
So I'm very concerned about the future of elk hunting when it comes to the use of AI, because if you can just use a handheld device to talk to elk and say, no, why don't you come here? Okay, I'll come there. Okay, hold on a second. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right there. Hey, give me 20 minutes. I don't know what they're going to say, but
I'm having coffee. I'm
yeah,
doing my hair.
You want to have coffee? Huh? So, right. What are they?
I'm
what are they gonna
Skyping
say?
my kids right now. I haven't seen them.
It's going to give even more advantage to hunters.
Yeah.
Now the overall, they say that the overall success rate for archery elk is 10%.
Right.
And for rifle, it's 20%.
Overall,
yeah,
it says here overall is 23%.
23. I know.
It's just
something ain't adding up. So, and there could be a lot of guys buying tags, and I bought tags, and hunted for 5 minutes outside the truck, and that's all I ever got that year. Right? There's been years like that.
I got a quasi basically that year.
Why do they even count me? Right? Well, I bought the sportsman's package because I wanted to go fishing. I didn't even go hunting. So there's a little bit of that statistic in there, but that statistic's going to hold true through the years, over the long term.
A general hunt is a lower percentage overall success rate than a controlled hunt.
Oh, but that makes sense.
So it's an 18% for a general hunt.
Yeah.
But a controlled hunt?
Yeah.
43.
Yeah. Controlled hunts are, listen, we've got a lot of elk. We know where they are.
Yeah.
And if you look at the bull-cow ratio too, it's almost 50-50. That's surprising.
Yeah.
So, so those are some interesting data from the Idaho Fish and Game. But very worried about. I'm glad to see that the wolf population is coming down. I would like to see that under the 1,000 mark, sustained. I know some people want to see it maybe under the 500 mark or under, right around in there. But I think
it back to zero.
If and I describe it like this: we're in a love triangle.
Yeah.
Us, the wolves, and the elk. We love the elk, and we want to shoot them. We want to kill them and eat them. And the wolves love the elk.
Yeah.
And they want to hunt them and kill them and eat them.
Yeah.
And if they kill too many, then we don't have any elk to kill.
Yeah.
So I call this a love triangle, and we need to manage this love triangle.
It's a food triangle.
And so I guess
it's a new type of food pyramid.
Yeah.
If you want to put it that way.
So I'm excited about getting out. I can't take my wolf course until March, which is going to be held in Glens Ferry here in Idaho. So I'll take that in March. And the kind of equipment that you need is, like I was saying, is so different.
Yeah.
The stuff you need for coyotes, and I really want to trap some coyotes. I would love. You have to check your traps every 72 hours.
Oh wow. Yeah. Well, yeah.
That's the law. Yeah. Especially the live ones, right? And what do you do if you set a trap for a bobcat and catch a mountain lion? Right?
Yeah.
What do you do? There's plenty of video online. I think you and I watched a video of a guy getting a bear
out of his wolf trap
in
northern Idaho. That was early last year or late the year before.
Oh man!
And he's got a pistol, and he's like, "Oh man!"
And the bear didn't want to have anything to do with him. Thank goodness. But he still had a gun in that bear's face, going, "Yeah, you go away now."
That was nuts, man. Nuts.
So, and I've seen guys. I've seen videos of people using a big piece of plywood with a notch cut out of it, so they can put that notch over the arm of the mountain lion. And so the mountain lion's on one side of the board, they're on the other, and they can release the cat that way. Or you just call Fish and Game. That's what they're there for. Fish and Game say, "Hey, I got this. I got a mountain lion in my bobcat trap. Please help me." and they'll come out and help. And she says the trappers are on real good first name basis with a lot of the Fish and Game officials, and they're there to help. They're there to help because some trappers do get harassed, especially if you're working in some place like she is, trapping beaver in the lowlands where lots of people live.
Yeah, a lot of people would find that upsetting, I would imagine.
Yeah,
lack of understanding, or sometimes it's just I don't care to understand.
Yeah, a lot of that is. So there was another. I think we talked about the AI thing.
Yeah.
So that's what I had on wolves. That empties my tank on wolves right now.
So I have a brief statement, and you saw how my stories are going today. So again,
I may not 20 minutes.
It'll be brief, but I don't have a lot of detail because I got a lot of these screenshots a couple weeks ago, and I thought I could retain. I was like confident, 100% confidence that I'm going to retain this information. Now I'm like, well, I don't remember everything.
That's American.
Apparently, we were talking. We're talking about wolves howling at the moon from northern Europe, but in Europe, wolves for the most part, by and large, have been eradicated.
Yeah,
and so they're returning them. And so the question, this headline just says, "Wolves return to Europe. What to do about them is a people problem." And I thought, Europe, look at America. We've got some lessons.
Yeah,
and we still have wolves. So
we have something that they don't have.
Place for those wolves to live.
Yeah, a place for the wolves to live. Everything is owned over there.
Yeah.
We have public spaces, wild spaces that is owned by the public. It's really unique. And it's interesting that the relationship they have with the grizzly bears in Europe.
Yeah.
Because it's so different.
Yeah.
It's so different.
What other topics did you have? Because I was hoping to pick your brain about this. Potential wolf trappers must attend and pass a course prior to trapping.
Yeah.
So I had that prior to last week, but we didn't make it. But you ended up going up to Boise or to Nampa.
So I took the trapper education course, which is a prerequisite to the wolf trapping course you're talking about. I have to take that course to take that course.
Right. No, this is this article's saying that you needed to take the course you went up to Nampa for. I think the way it's wording is just kind of it's cross contaminating our conversation. But I just saying that there's an image of that just because I was going to talk to you about that.
Okay.
But you ended up telling me I'm going to that course. Yeah. And then you're back, and you've already talked about it, so we don't need to go there. I don't know why I even brought it up, but that's been you go. That's how you start off season 3, episode 1.
Yeah. Just whatever.
Speaking
of season 3, episode 1.
Yes.
Since it's episode 1,
yes,
let's talk about the year. Do you want to do that now, or you want to do it later?
We can.
Okay.
We can. Because there's still a couple other headlines out there, but not that they're that important. But I'm gonna start off by just saying I've got a challenge to myself. Now when it doesn't say what day it is. So my TV has this Google Chrome on it, and it filters through all these different pictures. And I look up and I've seen this picture of an elk before. It's a picture of an elk.
Okay.
And I'm like, gosh dang it. It's a blistering reminder of a story I've told a few times and probably every season I've told it 2 or 3 times, starting off this season with it. And so I've told the story that the second year rather, that I was hunting in the zone that we're hunting together. I was up there alone.
Yeah.
The first year I had a spike and a 4-point, and they were in velvet. And the next day I had a 5-point and a cow, right? But the following year, and this is opening day and the subsequent days, I had all this amazing success of getting in close.
Yeah.
But I never launched an arrow. Well, I got even closer year 2. It's 2014. I'm sitting on this hillside. I have a 5-point, 6-point maybe, but it's small. The antlers are thinner because it was a drought year.
Okay.
So they're not very big antlers, but he's a big fella.
Yeah.
And he's broadside at 30 yards. And this image that shows up on my Google Chrome, I'll be damned, darned if this isn't that elk.
Wow.
I mean, it's not, but it's just, that's exactly what it looked like at 30 yards. And I couldn't get the string pulled back because I had the bow sitting in the wrong orientation.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Interesting.
So he may have been a little bit smaller than that because he didn't have the little 2 spikes at the top.
Okay.
So that would make him a 5-point. But
he looked like a giant where you were standing.
I was sitting.
Right?
I was sitting
like where you were sitting,
crisscross applesauce
up in the candy cane, right?
It was in the no.
Oh,
this was
you hadn't hunted much on that side.
Nope, I hadn't gone there
first
yet.
Couple years.
This was the back. This was the kitchen.
Oh, really?
This is the kitchen.
Really?
The little green spring that comes down is right above that, about 50 yards above that. And I was 30 above. He was about 20 yards above that. I was 30 yards above him. And he had no idea I was there. I watched him for 20 minutes.
Wow.
I just sat there. And I go, if he's broadside at 30, he's mine. And I was so confident. And I was like, but I had the wrong muscle group to pull efficiently without scaring him off.
Yeah.
I needed to have my bow turn like this, not like this. I couldn't get it pulled this way because I didn't have the muscle group.
Yeah.
So the lesson I learned is always set your bow down. You'll never see me set my bow down like that again. I'm always going to be like this because it's that one fell swoop. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. You want to get it up there.
I'll be real in about that, but so Google likes to, I guess, troll me with that. But the goal is, to challenge myself to take more shots,
right,
and to not be afraid of losing an arrow,
right.
And plus, now that we have lit nocks, I think that can help find and retrieve
big time
and follow your shot.
Time.
Like that to me,
I don't understand why that was illegal, but man, that's nice.
And all the learning that we've done to just like, I'm so excited for this year because heaven forbid I get anything else health-wise that takes me off the mountain like a freaking hernia.
Yeah.
But having that was it a 6-point that came in so tipped that last day.
He was a big fella.
So
he was either a big 5 or a decent 6.
Yeah. So continuing to get in shape. I didn't get too overweight over the Christmas break. I mean, I gained some, but I'm headed in the other direction again.
Okay.
I'm nowhere near where I was 2 years ago.
Yeah. I will tell you that I tipped the scale at 274 on New Year's Day. Yeah. I started taking creatine in mid-December.
Okay.
Knowing I wanted to bulk up before I started dieting in January.
Okay.
So and then once the floodgates open on the holiday food,
it's hard.
Oh man, I just kept shoveling and shoveling. So I went, and in 2 weeks, because I've been weighing myself and taking a picture of the scale. So in 2 weeks, I went from 258 to 274. So I put on 16 pounds in 2 weeks, and I'm down 4. I'm down to 270.
I was at like 252, and I tipped out at 269. 269.
Oh wow. Okay.
So
I want to get back in the 250s. That was pretty comfortable, and then work it from there.
Yeah, that's similar. We have similar vibes here, man. Because it's ridiculous how it, but your body actually over time, the more you gain and lose, it gets better at putting fat stores in. And so something that I've been trying to work on, because I just would like my body not to train itself to do that, but who knows?
Yeah, and every year my metabolism is slower. I can't eat as much as I used to. I used to be able to really put away some groceries, man.
Yeah.
And now it's
I can't eat sugary and carbohydrate stuff like I used to.
Yeah.
Like cold cereal.
Yeah.
I can't eat it, and too many muffins and sugary things in the morning. I just can't do it. So it's funny how metabolism changes, but I'm interested in shooting more. I say that every year.
Yeah.
I really am interested in shooting more. I want to actually, there's something about my bow and getting some new arrows and maybe adjusting my sight. So it's got a little disproportionate setup on my bow, and I want to start from scratch, but I want to make sure that it's more out of the way, but more dialed in.
Okay.
But again, you have to travel any length of distance to have a place to go shoot.
Yeah.
Totally missed. This is something we need to mark on our calendar for next year. There's a bow hunter association in Buell that always does a New Year's Day shoot in Buell.
Oh, that sounds like a good New Year's Day stuff, man.
They had like 400 or 500 people out there.
Wow.
It's a big event. I might have overshot the number, but I just remember reading it. It was like a huge event. I'm like,
oh, cool.
Duh.
Yeah.
And I should have texted you or something. I didn't, but it's my goal is to try to be more involved in that
busy.
stuff.
I had 10 people in my house over the holidays.
Jeez.
I have 4 couples and 2 kids. Right?
Yeah.
So all my kids have significant others, and then except the 2 that don't.
Right.
So, and then my wife and I as a couple. So there's 10 people in the house.
Yeah, it's
I was just constantly cooking and doing dishes, just constantly. So
paper plates.
Oh yeah, Costco paper plates, big stacks of paper plates. Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm just all right. Make some food, do the dishes, take out the garbage. All right. Make some more food, do the dishes, take out the garbage.
Yeah.
Because we don't have a super big kitchen. We got a house that's 100 years old this year.
Congratulations, house.
Our 1924 house.
It's awesome.
Oh,
you've done a lot of work to that thing. Man.
We've done it. We've done a ton, and we got a ton left. And we were just going to buy it 18 years ago for a quick flip.
Yeah.
Look at us now. It's become a home.
Who knew? It's a great place, man. You've made some great space in there.
Yeah. Yeah. We like our house. What other? Did you have any more conservation?
Oh, I do.
News.
So yeah, I guess we are kind of winding down. Real quick, some other stuff that you have in here. Dog is alive and wagging her tail thanks to the family cat who scared off an attacking coyote. Yeah. Cats are killers. Yeah, they are. Cats are killers, man. They are lethal. Even a coyote's like, yeah, it's all right. I'll see you later. Yeah. And that's a domestic cat, let alone we've talked about, predators in the wild, bears, but we also talk about cats. Like, one of the things they said at ISU, if you see a mountain lion, is don't turn away and run. Yeah. It'll pounce you. So, but being on bikes and trails, is problematic to me now. I don't really want to ride my mountain bike anymore out in the mountains. I showed you a TikTok before we started. You want to describe it? It was a gentleman out in the wilderness has spotted some other guy with a bike, but he has spotted this guy with a bike and a mountain lion kind of following him. Right. Yeah. He has twice filmed the same guy on a mountain bike. And the mountain bike runs its path, and the cat waits for the mountain bike to go past. Yep. And then crosses the road. And he says that's twice. Now, we've had mountain lion tracks around our tent. Yep. Fresh. In the fresh snow. Excuse me. And we have seen very, very fresh mountain lion tracks in Montana even. Yep. And now when you think about this video, somebody asked me, would you rather see a bear or a mountain lion? I'd rather see a mountain lion. Yeah. Because if a mountain lion's only a problem if you don't see it. Right. Because you won't see it. But cats are lethal, and so to bring that thread full circle, in Kenya, police followed footprints from an abandoned motorcycle to find a dead man.
Yeah.
The footprints were of a lion who pounced the guy on the bike.
Yeah.
It was near a park somewhere in Kenya.
Yeah, but it's the bike.
Yeah,
it's
the whole
thing.
The whole
bike theory. Yeah, I know.
Just a reminder: in Idaho, we have some new antler shed hunting or antler gathering restrictions in Upper Snake to help take off the pressure of those herds, things like that.
I think it's for the bears. If I remember reading right, the bears come out of hibernation and they really want to limit the human bear interactions.
This it says right here, intended to reduce stress of wintering big game and help eastern Idaho mule deer herds recover after harsh winter 22-23. So but that statement includes what you're saying, I feel.
Okay.
By wintering big game animals, things like that, bears are big game.
I guess bears are wintering big game animals.
So anyway,
but I guess they had a tough year, so just to keep their herds healthy, they don't want any pressure on them.
The amount of deer that I've seen in eastern Idaho when I lived over there, it was ridiculous. And there's so much private land over there, so it's like, it's conflicting.
Yeah.
We talked about wolves in Europe. Oh, in Idaho, Unit 26. Idaho Fish and Game. I don't know why. I just felt like this. I like it when management is working, or maybe this is management. I don't know, but a stable herd of bighorn sheep in Unit 26. And I know that bighorn sheep have just struggled a lot in the last couple decades. And so seeing that there's a stability there and maybe they can bounce back and better opportunities.
They don't have many big predators that take them down other than humans.
Yeah.
And they don't have a lot of great habitat.
Right.
Their habitat's very limited.
And their immune system is highly susceptible to invasive things so they get sick from the domestic herds.
Yeah, horses,
things like that.
Wow.
The last thing here is an image. Hopefully you'll be able to show it of a buck that has this huge abnormal belly.
Yeah.
And so somebody spotted this guy.
I've seen that before.
Walking around their woods. And that's a mule deer too.
Yeah.
Looks like in Colorado.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a mule deer buck with an exercise ball size growth on its chest, and it's hobbling around.
Yeah.
And so, it's hard for me to imagine that would have been this thing's entire life of having it, because it would be dead by now. So what they suspect is that during the rut, he gets an injury from another buck, from an antler, right? And it gets puffy and pussy, and it'll likely go away unless he gets killed first.
Wow.
So it's one of those things that's really off-putting to look at.
Right.
It's curious, but it's related to their mating behavior. So, I'm glad I'm not a buck, I guess, in that regard.
I can hear the wind kicking up outside right now.
Yeah.
The wind is going to start tonight. It's Thursday night. It's not going to let up until Saturday morning.
They're saying snowpocalypse too. For this area. And my son came home from his school up the road saying, they've already canceled school tomorrow. We're having a snow day. I'm like, we didn't even get a message from your teacher. But apparently the teacher did a happy dance or something.
Dream on.
We'll
see.
And there was supposed to be a breakfast for faculty and staff at the college tomorrow morning, as it's our week of in-service before school starts.
Yeah.
They canceled that out of an abundance of caution, because if you do all the prep work today and then you have to cancel breakfast tomorrow, there's a lot of food that gets wasted. Yeah. So they said, let's postpone it, is what they said.
Right.
So I want my breakfast.
Rain check that breakfast.
I was kind of excited for that, but that's okay. I'll make breakfast here.
Yeah.
And the cozy warmth of my home. But you're right. The wind's blowing out there, and we'll have an update on the weather depending on how good or bad.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of storms. We'll keep, as being the first episode of the year of the season, we're going to keep track of the snow like we did last year.
Yeah.
See where it is in Utah, because I did see some TikToks coming across like, hey, there's some big storms rolling through Utah. I mean, dumping 50, 60 inches of snow at a time. So there's some real crazy weather.
And it'll be interesting to see the YouTubers coming up here in the next several weeks as they hopefully is it Elk 101 or the local guys, the people that we talk about, we watch their videos. When
Elk 101, yeah,
Elk 101 and all those people. So it'd be in the coming weeks to talk about those things too. So
yeah, I did see a preview on YouTube of the Elk 101.
Oh, okay.
Of the new Destination Elk series.
Yeah,
that'll be on.
That's what I.
That'll be on YouTube, and it looks good. Oh man,
I'm gonna have to go find that clip.
It looks good. I did learn something interesting watching a video on YouTube, and I'm not sure if I shared it with you. But you talked about the antlers being kind of thin and small in a drought.
Yeah.
And so this particular YouTuber talked about how as an elk gets older, those antlers get shorter a little bit, but they get a lot thicker. They get a lot bigger around because he had this guy on a trail cam.
Okay.
And you're like, he was obscenely massive.
Okay.
I mean, is just so bulky. And the kid, he says he spent, I don't know, 12 or 15 days. He took all work off and just sat on this wallow the whole time and didn't get him.
Wow.
And it was a 2-parter, and I watched the first part, and I'm like, man, I really want to watch the rest of it. So I found that interesting. And I don't have anything else to base it on, but it tracks. It makes sense to me until somebody tells me why it doesn't make sense. But that's all I had on that.
But were you talking about his antlers? It was an age thing, an age-related thing?
Yeah,
So they were just bigger because he was older?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it seems I've heard that somewhere else. I don't have any other source to cite.
I personally am not a biologist.
No, neither am I.
And I don't specialize in elk biology. So a lot of the stuff I hear, I have to hope that it's somewhat accurate, but I'm like you're stating, I have an open mind to correction.
I am a biology enthusiast like Brian Fellows. Okay. I just think it's great. I just think it's cool. I love talking about the wolves and the elk and the bears and all the big predator stuff and the water situation and trapping. It's just fun for me. So, and looking to spend a lot of time. So goals. I feel like success archery elk is a function of how many nights you spend sleeping under the stars.
Yeah.
I think it's a function of that.
The preliminary data, and the data that I'm talking about is your efforts of last season and the season before have demonstrated that. Now, you didn't harvest last year, but you were with someone who did because you just spent more time out there. And had he not been there with you, you'd have been harvesting.
Perhaps.
So, well.
Perhaps. Yeah. I mean, we'll never know. But I had some really great experiences last year. I mean, just couldn't.
My goal is
trade him for an elk.
My goal is always to be able to squeeze more time out there, but I want to be able to not have to come home early, to come off the mountain early. I want to piggyback off of the energy that I had, that I had to leave up there, and that was I was motivated and I didn't care. Let's go into the backyard. Let's go into this direction. Let's do that. But then I stepped wrong. But I had a pre-existing condition, so hopefully that doesn't happen this year.
Last year we had 100% confidence, and somehow this year we have more.
Looking forward to it.
Add that up. It's 110%.
Yeah, just 110%.
Okay, see you next week.
Cheers.
Goodbye.